Greetings, mortals. Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, and executioner quoting the scripture for her own purposes. Like a lot of things in life, organized religion can be used for good or for evil. On one hand, it can inspire great works of art, promote social reform, provide comfort to those who need it, and give its adherents a sense of community and a connection to something greater than themselves. On the other, it has been used as a justification for violence, bigotry, sexual oppression, and worst of all, awful faith-based knockoffs of popular media trends, like our next offender, Sunday School Musical. This mashup of the nauseatingly popular High School Musical franchise and heavy-handed evangelical Christianity comes to us courtesy of Faith Films, an arm of notorious mockbuster factory The Asylum. The only possible entertainment value from it would be seeing the expression on a quiverful parent's face when they learn this fine upstanding film is from the same people responsible for Sexpot and Two-Headed Shark Attack. Since I was recently compelled to suffer through the original High School Musical, I was hoping I could avoid its churchy cousin via conflict of interest. Unfortunately, the film is already on the other side's disavowed list, so no such luck. So let us, regrettably, examine the case of Sunday School Musical. Our hero is a young lad called Zach, a name I'm sure is entirely coincidental. He's a generic, clean-cut kid, and we meet him singing the most generic I Want song in existence.
It's about that time for me to shine. I got dreams, I got goals. Real soon they're all gonna be mine.
The score is the movie's first sin. Despite what they say, we don't have all the best tunes, but you wouldn't know that from watching this. When the highlight of the soundtrack is This Little Light of Mine, you know you're not in a good place. The songs are uniformly bland and unmemorable, and only provide superficial expression for the characters and story. Here's what Zach sings during a particularly low moment.
I've never been so scared. I feel so unprepared. This is so unexpected. Who would have guessed it?
Your touch, your feet, I am sad.
It's surprising that, despite the movie's theme and the background of the characters, Zach doesn't express any faith or hope in a higher power at this point. This is a hint to one of the movie's overarching problems, but we're not even out of the opening credits yet, so we'll save that for later. Zach's non-specific dreams and goals apparently have something to do with his church choir, which is competing in an equally non-specific state competition. Yes, once again we have an inspirational story where the big crisis of faith is who will win a singing contest. It's like the gospel according to Simon Cowell. There's a $10,000 prize at stake, which is hard to believe when you see the shoddy setup and low attendance of the semifinals. And there's sin number 2, the terrible production values. I don't go into a film like this expecting the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But the best low-budget films make the most of their limited means, working around and sometimes with financial constraints to create something genuinely entertaining. Sunday School Musical is more than cheap, it's lazy. It's clear nobody on this film expended any effort beyond what it took to get it shot and shelved as quickly as possible. For instance, I don't care what they paid their editor, but it was too much. Look at how lousy the lip sync is on this song. Nobody cared the slightest about even trying to make this movie look good. There are no extras in the street or school scenes, no attempt to give the settings any personality, and the cast shows about as much enthusiasm as a death march. That's bad in any movie, but especially in a musical, which above all needs heart in order to succeed. And Sunday School Musical looks just exactly like what it is, An uninspired, callous attempt to replicate the success of a movie that, terrible though it was still much better than this. Zach and the other members of the Hawthorne Church Choir do their thing, and next up is Crossroads Choir, who are the white-bread, middle-class counterparts to the hip, urban Hawthorne kids.
Come now, fount of every blessing, come now, fount of every blessing, come to sing thy words, to sing thy grace, to sing thy praise, to sing.
Oh, please, for the love of all that's unholy, switch to anything.
La 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 la.
Oh, good enough. Even though the Crossroads Choir sucks even by the standards of sucky underdogs, the only other choir in the regional competition gets food poisoning, so they advance to the state finals. Our protagonists react to this development with the charitable Christian goodness we can come to expect from these characters.
We finally made it.
Good work, guys.
Well, thank goodness for egg salad, right?
All the hard work and those clowns slide through the states.
Oh, I can just feel the brotherly love. Can't you? Zach's delight in making it to the next round is doomed to be short-lived, however, as his mother tells him that she's lost her job and they'll have to move in with her sister for a while. Zach is irritated that this development might temporarily inconvenience him.
So we have to switch schools?
Yes, and I've talked to your Aunt Janet and...
Aunt Janet, that's like 45 minutes away.
Okay, just listen.
So while Zach's upset because his friends will be a whole bus ride away, his friend Andrea is upset because the choir's star soloist is leaving 1 month before the state competition, and nobody seems particularly concerned about Zach's mom, who now has to worry about how to support her 2 boys, in addition to having a husband serving overseas. Oh, and I'll bet you'll never guess who Zach's new classmates are. Zach gets to bond with cute pastor's kid Savannah in home ec, so his new situation isn't entirely bad. But he immediately earns the ire of sin number 3, Miles. Miles is the most self-centered, snotty jerk-ass in the entire film, and there is a lot of competition for that particular honor.
You think you can come in here and spy on our choir? Well, you're wrong.
I just moved here, and your choir isn't good.
Right. That's exactly what a spy would say.
He's supposed to be Zach's antagonist, but he's just a nuisance. He doesn't do anything other than be snide and weakly protest everything Zach and Savannah do, until the plot decides it's time for him to come around and be friends with everybody. So on the whole, Zach isn't loving his new stomping grounds, and to make matters worse, his dad's tour of duty has been extended again. He doesn't even have the comfort of his music, because using his talent to give the Crossroads Choir the help they so desperately need would be thoughtful and generous of him, and Lord of Darkness knows we can't have that. Not even cute Savannah's pleas are enough to move him. He has to literally be forced into the choir room.
We could use help cleaning the choir room. Zachary could do that instead.
No. I'll just do detention tomorrow.
No, Zachary, that's perfect. You'll report to the choir after school.
Wait, if Miles thought Zach was a spy earlier, why is he offering to give him access to their rehearsals? Is he just so focused on being a nasty dick that he forgot his motivation for a moment? Not to worry, as even the sound of Be Thou My Vision being tortured is enough to sway Zach.
You don't want to just stay, maybe help us out?
I don't think so. You guys need a miracle.
Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Besides, Zach has more important things to do, like work on his sweet moves in the boys' room. Here we have an example of sin number 4, the ludicrous amount of filler material. This movie has a ton of scenes that are not only extraneous to the main plot, but also to the vast array of individual crisis subplots that already pad out this kind of movie. We see kids working in class, talking to parents, rehearsing music, but they don't move the story and they certainly don't develop these characters beyond broad stereotypes. They're just a waste of time spent with people we have no desire to be with anyway. But eventually Zach decides to help out because, well, the script says so pretty much. And what insight does he have for these unlikely misfits?
Well, with my old choir, we used to put our own spin on things.
Again with the old music bad, new music good mentality. I think this choir has more troubles than needing to loosen up and be hip, Zach. Or maybe not. Sin number 5 is how easily the Crossroads Choir gets its game together. Even by the standards of underdog stories, the turnaround on this group is rather unbelievable. Let's listen once again to the Before Choir.
Come thou fount of every blessing, come thou fount of every blessing, come thou fount of every blessing, heart to sing thy words, to sing thy grace, to sing thy praise.
They have no pitch, rhythm, or blend, and the arrangement of the song is awful. This is a lot more than a few inspirational words from the new kid and a dance number can fix. Getting this choir to sound remotely good, let alone competitive, would take weeks of hard work and practice, not just a minor attitude adjustment.
Music isn't something you learn, it's something you feel.
No, it's actually both. The people who are really, really good at music work hard and study it every day of their lives, in addition to having passion for it and natural talent. Acting like it's something that just happens because you want it to is an insult to all the effort they put into their art. An actual director might have told you these things, but the choir doesn't have one. Just Savannah vaguely waving her hands in front of the group. I guess there wasn't enough room in the movie's budget for more than 2 teachers. So while Crossroads inexplicably gets its act together, the subplots continue to exist. Savannah has drama with Reverend Dad that's vaguely related to her mother dying some months ago due to plot convenience.
Well, you are angry. You are angry right now?
Dad, I'm your daughter. Stop preaching to me.
Savannah, stop it.
Dad, get out of my room.
Savannah!
Dad, get out of my room. Get out!
Zach is struggling in his new school and must get a passing grade in Bible study if he wants to continue participating with the choir. This gives him the chance to generate tepid romance with Savannah over tutoring sessions.
Zachary, it's fine. Don't even worry about it.
Psych. A-.
Okay, that subplot is resolved. What else do we have? Well, Savannah and Miles argue over whether or not Zach is an asset, which gives them an excuse to have an angry duet.
We're at the crossroads, my way's good and he's bad.
Have I ever told you that you're cute when you are mad?
They have the I'm right and you're evil school of Christianity down at least. Back on the other side of town, the Hawthorne kids miss Zach, who apparently is the only person in the entire world who can make a choir come together. To make matters worse, their church is low on funds and will have to close down, meaning the choir won't be able to compete at state. Like everybody else in the movie, Andrea uses the crisis as an opportunity to make everything about herself.
Sal, this was our opportunity to prove that we could do something. To prove that Hawthorne could do something.
And, there was something about God somewhere in there, I guess. Whatever, the point is I'm clearly the biggest victim here. So now the Hawthorne kids are sad because there are no other churches anywhere they could go to. And Andrea is taking out her bitchiness on Zach just 'cause he happens to be there. Sounds like it's time for Reverend Dad to impart some words of wisdom.
We are all given obstacles in our life that test us, and they make us question ourselves and sometimes the people that we love. But we are also given an opportunity to live the most fulfilling and the most righteous life possible.
Really? That's the best you've got, huh? This is the overarching issue I was mentioning earlier. Again, I may not be the best person to talk about this, but sin number 6. The movie's approach to religion is very superficial. The problem with most so-called inspirational fiction is that it spends so much time cramming its theology down your throat that it never gets around to telling a good story. But Sunday School Musical not only doesn't tell a good story, it doesn't even have much to say from a religious angle, and what it does have to say is pretty shallow. Reverend Dad sounds more like a bad motivational speaker than a pastor. He fires off a few buzzwords like compassion, humility, and righteousness, but he has nothing insightful to say about them. His advice to his daughter is similarly useless.
If you ever get overwhelmed, you can do what your mother used to do.
What's that?
She would simply put a piece of bubble gum in her mouth and she would blow a big bubble. And she would say a little prayer right before she did it. She'd say, "Dear God, make this bubble take away my trouble."
With pearls of wisdom like that, no wonder churches are struggling. This is the sort of showy, shallow piety you get from emails forwarded by elderly relatives. Reverend Dad's sermon inspires Zach to come up with a clever plan. The Hawthorne and Crossroads choirs will combine their talents, giving them a better chance to win the prize money, which can be used to get Hawthorne out of Hawk. This results in scenes where the two groups snipe at each other for no reason other than to give the movie the illusion of tension.
Andrea, you're too loud.
Well, I can't hear myself sing over his piano.
But one uplifting song by Zach later, everybody is getting along and the choir is so good they start generating their own post-production.
I may be okay on my own, but I know I'm so much better with you.
That's it, I'm calling sin number 7 on Zach's magical ability to fix all the choir's problems in a minute. He just says a few encouraging words, does a little song and dance, and boom! Everybody's getting along and singing beautifully. If he were any more skilled at fixing everybody's dysfunction, he'd be turning water into wine and standing trial before Pilate. And so the day of the state competition finally arrives, complete with the champion choir that nobody has been able to topple from their pedestal.
Church of the Gospel Youth Choir. They've won the past 3 years.
And they will never let anybody forget it.
Is anybody else bothered by the fact that the antagonists are represented by a scowling black man? This is actually the least of the movie's problems at this point, as just about everything related to the competition is so ridiculous it gets sin number 8 as a whole. To begin with, Savannah has a sudden panic attack for no reason other than so she can revisit Reverend Dad's stupid advice.
Make this bubble take away my trouble.
I wonder if Wrigley's has ever considered this as a marketing tactic. Depressed, listless, having suicidal thoughts or feelings? Chew gum! That cloying little scene is followed by an even more cloying scene where Zach gives Savannah a fortune cookie he baked just for her.
Might be kind of stale, so.
Everybody say it with me now.
You will get a fortune and then win the state's competition.
In bed. But no amount of gum and cookies can save the choir from the bombshell that drops next.
It's been brought to my attention that this is a combination of choirs.
Yeah, the Crossroads and Hawthorne, we formed one choir.
Well, I'm sorry, I cannot allow two choirs to perform together. It wouldn't be fair to the other choirs.
Wait, why is this suddenly an issue? They haven't been making a secret of their combined status. In fact, they've been referred to as Crossroads Hawthorne several times already. Shouldn't any questions about the fairness of a joint choir come up well before now? There is absolutely no reason for this to happen, other than to give the heroes a last-minute obstacle to deal with.
What we did here was something really great. We united two very different groups of people, and we made it work. I think we may have an argument.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is abuse.
And they fight back in the only way they know how, by being smug and self-righteous about their faith.
To quote Zechariah 7:9, administer true justice, show mercy and compassion. That is what we have done in working together. And that in turn is what we ask of you.
The judges decide they can't allow the choir to actually compete, but they can go ahead and perform their song, which of course they do in standard bringing down the house fashion. And why would everybody bother with this performance with absolutely nothing at stake? So the rival choir can do a complete about-face, concede defeat, and let the heroes win without any actual effort on their part.
However, we feel that we should give over the award and the title to the true winners today, the Hawthorne Crossroads Choir.
Hawthorne gets the funds it needs to stay open, Zach's dad comes home to his loving family, and Zach and Savannah show about as much intimacy as they can without pissing the fundies off. I'm really uncomfortable with how easily everything works out for the protagonists here. Insofar as this movie has any sort of spiritual message beyond can't we all just get along-isms, it seems to be that if you're a good Christian, everything will work out for you no matter what. What if the rival choir needed the money for something important too? Or the kids who got food poisoning at the beginning, was that part of the divine plan? This is exactly the sort of simplistic approach to theological matters that ends up causing more grief than good, not to mention making a whole lot of extra work for us, and having it presented as a heartwarming ending is just unsettling. But it is an ending, so I'll take it. I get the feeling Sunday School Musical doesn't have much of a religious agenda because its creators weren't actually interested in promoting one. They just wanted to make something they could market to the evangelical Christian crowd. Good art never results from that mentality. I almost would have preferred a bunch of fundamentalist ranting. It would have been disgusting, but at least it would have been honest. This movie has no heart or effort behind it, misguided or otherwise, and it shows. So the Court of Musical Hell orders these punishments. For being the most irritating character in an entire cast of irritating characters, we condemn Miles to attend summer school with Screech, Cousin Oliver, and Sharpay and Ryan Evans. For providing the dullest, most nondescript score possible for a musical, we condemn Don Raymond to listen to the elevator music version of John Tesh's greatest hits. Finally, to the producers. There are few things more despicable than a person who uses their faith as an excuse to hurt others, but a person who uses the faith of other people for their own gain is one of them. This crude and, I might add, half-assed attempt to pander to and cash in on the deeply held beliefs of your audience puts you lower than the narrow-minded, narrow-hearted holy rollers who comprise your target demographic. And that's saying something. You are hereby condemned to spend an eternity watching reruns of the 700 Club. So let it be recorded. This session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell is now adjourned, and you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Thank you.